and it is Black History Month. Okay. So obviously we celebrate Black History Month 365 days a year, or at least we try to. No, we don't always do it right, but we try to. So in collaboration with Girl Talk with J.Belle and the Radio Fam, came up with this really cool interview series to interview radio personalities, radio talent across the country called Breaking the Ceiling. Now, my first guest, she has been a television reporter, an executive producer of a top-rated morning show, and I think it was in Charlotte.
It was.
It was in Charlotte, and the show was actually on TLC at one point, right? It was a reality show. So she done... Right, see, I've been following. I be paying attention, and
okay,
you can see my little string.
Research,
and she's also worked with. You see my tag on the little string.
Listen, it's okay. We just gonna tuck it in and keep going.
Right. She's also done work with American Idol. She's interned with the Rachel Ray Show. I mean, her list goes on. Okay, so and also too. She's also going to be a part of this project, doing Meet the Fam and introducing Black radio talent and their history, things that they have done in the community that I always say often gets overlooked. My first guest is Vicky Roe. Yay! It's like we give applause. Yes, we give applause on here. How are you? Listen, we've been talking for about 30 minutes before we even started really getting into this. Just planning stuff, talking radio stories, exchanging them, and when I tell you, Vicky feels like a best friend right now because conversation. She does, because you get it, you understand it, and so I'm very excited.
The struggle is real.
The struggle is real. And so I'm excited to have you on this project because I think it's something near and dear. Now, the person that I'm working with, her name is Marie. She runs the Radio Fam Instagram social media. She created it from scratch. And we have been collaborating a little bit. She's been taking some of my episodes from my podcast with radio personalities. And so sharing those, I was like, well, why don't we do something, different? Since you've been sharing my stuff, I want to do this. And she was like, okay, cool. What are you thinking? And I told her. And when we were planning it, I was like, we got to do something that's centered around Meet the Fam too, because they introduce a lot of different radio personalities with that. And I wanted to focus on Black talent for Black History Month. And so when we were thinking about how we were going to do it, she brought up the name Vicky Roe. And I was like, okay. I was like, I know her. I was like, yeah, I have seen her writings. I've seen her do articles. She's doing it up in Lafayette because she also does entertainment news. I haven't even got to let you talk yet. I'm telling all your story right now.
I'm just like, dang, I did.
Right. So she does entertainment news in Lafayette also, along with her radio show. She's on afternoons in Lafayette. And now she's starting to get into writing for a magazine, a local magazine there. And so when she brought you up, I thought to myself, yes, she would be the perfect match because you really do a really good job. I've seen your interviews on Instagram. You've interviewed some pretty big people already. I was like, dang, you got Real Housewives of the Pontiac, whatever they called. The Potomac, the heathens of the Real Housewives. That's what I call them because they're crazy. Okay.
Girl, yeah.
But yeah, you've had some pretty big people. So let's go ahead and get started. I wanted people to know your story. Okay. And how you got into radio, and we're going to go on from there. So first things first, your journey into radio. Tell us about it.
It's so funny because just listening to you say some of that stuff, I'm like, dang, I wasn't even being funny. I'm like, I really did. I was trying. You have to put in work for this thing.
Right. Exactly. I want people to understand that first off, you got to put in work.
Yeah. So for me, it got started probably like, not officially, but probably like officially got started in college. I went to Appalachian State University. And I knew like day one, I'm like, I'm going to the radio station. So I ended up going to the radio station. Long story short there, I ended up working my way from a volunteer, just doing news breaks and different shows and just finding anything to do around the station, ultimately to co-hosting the show with two other girls called 90s at 9, which I love everything about the 90s. So it worked out perfectly. Wow. You played 90s music. I did the 90s entertainment report. So it was really, really good. And, It's so funny because I knew like radio is it, that's all. And it's so crazy because like my senior year, some things I took like one TV class and things shifted, but ultimately I found my way back to radio, which I have been loving every second of it.
Love it every second, even with everything that's been going on.
And that's a whole nother part in itself. Like I love like being around people, hearing people's story,
Mm-hmm.
hugging people. And like I kind of already knew that about myself, but I think now I'm really realizing like, man, I miss that interaction. Of course, it's cool to meet celebrities when they come in and stuff, but I love really hearing stories. Like I love to tell people stories. So it's not that I miss the celebrities coming in and stuff. I really
Mm-hmm.
just miss like being like in the room with them and really like soaking up all they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, after we get some of those basic questions out the way, then we get to
Right.
the real stuff.
Right.
So I really do miss that.
Okay. I get that. I understand that. The rooms that I have been in, when
Mhm.
you meet certain celebrities, you're just like, you feel their aura. For example,
Yes.
when I was working in Charlotte and we were a part of Funk Fest,
Mhm.
and I got to meet some of the members of Goody Mob, got to meet Bobby Brown, but when,
Legendary.
right,
Legend.
exactly. But then when I met Erica Badu,
How was that?
the aura, the space, the
Shut
feeling of
up.
being around her, I was like,
It's just different. It was just different.
it was like
From anything you
magic.
probably felt. Really?
I don't
That
know
is
what it is, but I don't know what's the right word to use.
it's that aura, it's the vibes. Like I'm big
Her
on vibes.
vibe, her vibe
Yeah.
was like A1. Like it was just like a good feeling. Like it feel like you could just be around her for hours and you just like
That does not surprise me at all. I
right.
feel
It's
like
just
she
like
would have that vibe for
it's
sure.
it's a good voodoo that she has. Voodoo got good voodoo. You know what I'm saying? Like so you
Yes.
right. You do you miss that kind of stuff over time. So
And even honestly, just the people, like not even just celebrities,
hmm
but like going out when, with
right.
radio, we have a bunch of different events and like being out at the events, meeting the crazy person who just comes up, but they are so hilarious. Like
Right.
meeting those people who say they listen all the time, just that interaction with everybody. It's missed right now.
It
It
is. I
really
think
is.
we all are missing it in different ways.
Mhm.
So as you talk about these things, you're talking about being around listeners, celebrities. Who are some of your radio influences?
Radio influences for sure. My mentor, Courtney Hicks, she's
Shout
done
out to
radio
Courtney.
for years, but she's in TV right now. But honestly, I mean, I remember coming into the station because we worked together at Beasley Media in Charlotte.
Hmm
Or I don't know if you want to bleep that out, but we worked
No, it's fine.
together in Charlotte.
I don't work for. I mean, I work for a particular company, but they're not here. So.
Okay, so we worked together at in Charlotte, not on the same station, but we were in the same building. And
hmm
I mean, just from day one, me coming to her, just like talking to her just about stuff in radio, she has such a story to tell. I mean, like she's just on it. She knows her stuff. She knows what she's doing. And I feel like she has a voice that people really listen to. It's not just she's talking on the mic and telling you something
hmm
about crazy Kanye or something about, whatever it
Right.
is. She's like really talking to you. So I've always admired her for that and being able to really connect with people like that. That's something that I definitely aspire to do. Angie Martinez is forever the GOAT. Like I love
Right.
me some
Yes. Yes.
Angie.
We give a little
I
applause to Angie.
No, for real. Because I grew up in New York. And so listening to her on the radio and just kind of like following her journey ever since,
hmm
reading her book, I can't even say pinpoint what it is, but it's just something like Angie. She just got it. Like so, I've always loved listening to Angie and Sway from Sway in the Morning. Like their
How
morning
Sway?
show. No,
How
for
Sway?
real. Like I love their morning show from him. I mean, just to everybody on the show, they just put together a really good show. They have entertaining callers, their topics, the way they break stuff down.
hmm
So just off the top of my head, those are like the three people that I always think of for sure.
You have some heavy influences because those are legends, especially
Yeah,
Angie
I know.
Martinez. I mean, I
And
think,
yeah,
yeah, I think every woman, every young girl, even if she didn't live in New York and grew up listening to her, you've seen Angie Martinez in different aspects from television.
Yeah.
And then also, she was on Hot 97. Now she's with iHeart, and
Mhm.
that was a huge move because of the fact that she had been with Emmis for so long.
For
And then
so, and I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard it, I felt like I worked for high, and I was like, I've been betrayed. Like that was the initial reaction. Of course, you got to hear her reasoning and all that. And honestly, it's not my life; it's her life. So
it's
I
her
don't know
life. Yeah.
why I felt like, but I guess like I said, because I grew up there and I just knew
Right.
her on Hot
Mm-hmm.
97. I'm
Right.
like betrayal,
And it's
but I
one of
still
those.
love me some
Yeah, and
Angie.
it's one of those things when she closed that door, the other one opened like
Mhm.
wide open, because now
Wide
she's like
open.
with Rock Nation management, and she's had multiple TV opportunities. I mean, she had them before when she was hot. Let's not lie, she did,
Right, right.
but not in the sense that she has them now. And I feel like her whole brand has just gotten bigger since
Oh yeah.
since
Oh
she made that move. It's almost like how Big Boy was with MS2
yep.
before Power was bought out by another company.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he's with iHeart, the same thing. He's already built it on something, but it's even bigger now because of the
Yeah, but
fact
I
that he
think
has.
because they, like you said, they established that such a strong
Right.
foundation
Mm-hmm.
that there was no choice, but wherever they went, it just had to get bigger, just because they were
Exactly.
already so solid in what they were doing and who
Mm-hmm.
they established themselves to be as the voices.
Mm-hmm.
So they had no choice but to get bigger from there.
Right, exactly. And they knew their worth at the end of the day, because I
Hmm.
believe with both companies, neither one of them wanted to pay them more money. So it definitely made sense for both of them to leave. And so, like I said, you have some very huge influences in your life. And I'm going to ask you this next question, because as we talk about Angie, we talk about Big Boy, and they're doing things in television. And you've
Hmm.
worked in television a little bit too. As you've worked in different aspects within media, period,
Hmm.
what makes radio stick to you the way it does?
Honestly, the first thing that pops in my head is really just my love of music. Like, I have always loved just music, period.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, honestly, to get to a point where I can merge me getting in trouble from talking in school. So my passion for talking, clearly, and my love for music, and to merge that together, it's just no feeling like it. And like I said, like, I grew up just loving music. My family, like my dad, I always call him like an unofficial DJ. Like, in his time, he's like had all the records, all the CDs, knew what song to play next. So like, my dad loved music. My mom very loved all kinds of music. So very into music, but different genres. And that kind of bled out into my sister, not bled out, but kind of like flowed into my
I got what you said.
sister. Like, flowed into my older sister too. So it was like everybody around me, excuse me, was heavily like in music. And so I guess growing up around it, it's just something about, being around music all day, although music has definitely changed, but
You're right about that.
being around music all day and be able to just talk about it, and my love for entertainment, and being able to combine those all into something I get paid for.
Right. If you can make money off your passion, I think that is the ultimate hustle.
Yeah, no, seriously, something I honestly, of course, in my heart, I wanted it to happen, but
Mm-hmm.
never knew that it would happen.
And that's great. And I want to ask you this, as we move forward, because of the fact that things have changed over the years, and music has changed, radio has definitely changed.
Mhm.
How do you, with the age of social media being so upfront and everything? I mean, you're supposed to share everything except your
Mhm.
lows. Um,
Right.
how do you feel like it has helped your brand as as a radio personality?
Um, you know, Social media is a tricky thing because, on one side, it does help the brand for sure, because literally with one post, you can get in front of all these people that you don't even know across the world, because it's
Right.
the internet, obviously. So people that would have never even known your name, what you look like, or that you existed, period, can see you from this one post, and you never know. They might end up liking it, then they might end up following you, and you might end up best friends with somebody that you just know from Instagram. It's happened to me. Like, I've met a lot of people from Instagram. So,
Right.
that part of it is amazing, being able to get yourself and get your platform in front of so many people, and also just meeting people in those that networking opportunity that can come from that. But there's also the other side of it. So it's like, of course, while it helps the brand, sometimes it's like, the pressures of just having to keep up with it, the pressures of like, I got to stay consistent. I got to stay in the know what's going on. And like you said, just the sharing everything part, that's still something I'm kind of like working through, because I am like a very private person. Like, I'll share a lot, but like, of course, like I'm sure like with everybody, when it comes to certain stuff, you just don't want to share. So I'm kind of like, finding that balance of what I want to share, what I don't want to share, what might be good for people to see that they can relate to, because you want to seem relatable too. So you do want to share certain personal aspects of yourself. But it's just tricky. You got to find that line, especially like I said, for me, I'm kind of a private person when it comes to a lot of stuff.
Right.
So, now it's kind of like you got to put yourself out there, that, that argument that you might have had might end up being a funny topic for the show. But do you want to talk about the argument? Because it was kind of serious, but now you can laugh at it. So it's that balance.
Got to find a balance within it.
Yeah.
And I think that's funny, because when I worked as an online editor, the talent was expected to do 2 posts per a show.
Right. Okay.
And it's one of those things where like, well, what do I share if I don't have anything to really share?
If I don't have anything going on.
Right, exactly. And so that's why I'm like, the balance that you're talking about, I get it. I understand it, because my former, the PD at the time was like, if you don't share 2 posts per show, we got a problem. And it's like, and the talent would come to me and they're like, what am I supposed to do, Janelle? I don't have anything to share today. I was like, well, you share one of your features or something. I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do.
Let me ask you this. When they say you have to share 2 posts per show, it have to be like personal stuff, or would it have to be like entertainment stories?
I think it had to be a balance. So you're showing that you're on the show, and then maybe you have something like going on, or you can do something with one of your features or something like that.
You better make something up.
Right. And I would always say that, and they're like, no, I don't have anything today. I don't want to share. And they wouldn't do it, and then I would get in trouble for it. And I'm like, well,
listen, you have to
director.
You gotta be creative. Just make up a story. My mom is asking me why I'm still single, or my mom is asking me why I'm dating the guy that I'm dating, or my dad is. I mean, you gotta be, especially now too, as we're talking about social media. You gotta be creative. You have to be, or else you're gonna fall behind and quick.
Right, exactly, and it can really mess with your mind. You don't have to always feed to the audience, but as long as you figure out something that fits within who you are.
Yeah. Like, and don't force it, because people will be able to tell. Like, let it be something that's kind of like naturally you.
Right. That's the big problem that they had. They didn't want to force it. So sometimes they just didn't want to post because necessarily they didn't feel creative that day. And I was like, well, I get that. Right. Sure. It's like, I get that. I understand that. So, I would try to work with them and be like, well, what if we created some content for you to have for a while? Get to it and try to edit it as fast as I can. Exactly. But they be wanting to do elaborate stuff, and I be looking at them like, I don't have elaborate time.
Unless you got some elaborate money.
Well, I mean, I was getting paid salary, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, they would want something that was very intricate, and because they couldn't hire outside people, only I could do it. It's like, well, I don't have all that time to.
I mean, if it was me, like if I really had an idea, something like that, I would probably. I don't know if it's legal, but I would probably like slip you something, like here's a little something extra for putting all this together.
They weren't trying to do that. Nope. They weren't trying to do that. Nope. That's okay though.
I'm quick to pay for convenience. I probably got that from my dad. Like if I can't, I'm just like, if it's too much, here you go. How much? Because I can't.
Right. But I also think it's one of those things where it comes into play of learning different things. So if you're, especially now, because your smartphone, you can edit on it.
What?
You can become a photographer on it. You can do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you learn how to do those things, you don't necessarily have to have your laptop with you at all times. You can just edit quickly on your phone, put something out there. You can edit ahead and, do that. I think that this is something that radio personalities really need to understand and know, is that you need to learn every aspect. Don't care if somebody think you're taking their job or trying to take their job. You're trying to make yourself more marketable.
No, for sure. And
not reliable. And I think that's what it needs to come down to.
Yeah, make yourself indispensable. That's what people have always told me. So like if something happens where the person who does this is out, you're like, okay, well, it's not going to completely stop me in my tracks. I know how to do it. And I learned that just, I didn't realize, and me just taking so many different opportunities like within the field, like you mentioned some of the stuff earlier with American Idol and working as a news reporter and then working as a producer. Like I was taking these opportunities because I felt like, they were good steps and ultimately going to where I wanted to go. But I didn't realize that I was also going to be getting so much from these experiences. And like, just thinking back now to everything I did, it's just like, man, well, that taught me this. I remember learning this here. I remember learning this at this job. And, it really, really helped me, I think, ultimately to obviously to where I want to be, but also with my skill set, period, because there were so many things that I didn't know like I didn't know. So
yeah,
it's been very helpful too, just to, take those opportunities and listen, not all of them are going to be paid. A lot of them are going to be part-time. And I was blessed enough to be able to have, parents who did help me out. And I know that I don't take that for granted at all because I know everybody can't do that and take a part-time opportunity or take an internship. And, especially when we feel like we're getting older, like, and a lot of the times that fear kicks in. So it's 35. Like, you can't do that. And, but for me, I was able to do that. And those experiences have truly, truly helped me. In addition to, like I just said, my parents, but my family, period, just having a solid support system. That's a whole nother thing that will, definitely help you for sure on this journey.
And I agree with everything you said. I'm 35 years old. I'm 5 years from 40, and I am still getting help from my dad. I mean, he helps me out a lot.
Girl, me too.
Yeah, I got a full-time
from both of my parents.
Right. I was like, I still, and my mom helps me from time to time. I think that a lot of times though we get shamed for it because of our age. They think, and this is the misconception that people get, that they think that radio pays all this money.
Oh yeah, you get to meet celebrities. You get to go here. You get to go there.
Like, no.
I mean, yes, some of that stuff may be true, but honey,
I want to say the average salary for a radio personality starts probably at like $25,000 a year.
Yeah, no, I would agree. That's definitely the starting point for sure. Because I've applied to no job, so I know
exactly
that for sure. And not everybody. I think a lot of the time, because we see some of the glamorized personalities like in our face, or the ones who obviously been doing this for years. They're getting paid way more than what the average person is getting paid. So I think maybe sometimes people confuse. It's like, oh no, well, DJ Envy just brought this car, or somebody just brought this house, and it's like, yeah, but I'm not at DJ Envy's level. I'm not exactly level. You have to work towards that, and that's oftentimes rare that radio personalities are getting to a certain point where they're getting paid like that.
Exactly. Take for example, I think the biggest example of that is Charlemagne the God. Because of the fact of where he started at, even if you read his book, you haven't read his book, you know his story. And so he started radio in South Carolina, got fired. Then I think at some point he ended up moving to New York, doing radio, was sleeping on people's couches. Doing stuff for free. And then ended up working with Wendy Williams. And then as his star rose a little bit, he got his own morning show in Philly. He got into it with, I think it was Freeway. Talking a lot of crap to Freeway. Jay-Z made the call and was like, yo, he got to go. So he got fired. Ended up going back down to South Carolina. Okay. And then he ended up going. I think he ended up going back to Wendy Williams and working with her for a little bit.
Okay.
I believe so. And then he got the call for Power 105, and now the rest is history. I mean, I think
It's
now,
hard.
right?
It's hard.
I think in the past 5 years, because they've been on for 10 years now. In the past 5 years, he's really started making his money, his millions, being able to produce television shows and right TV shows, and now he has his own podcast network within iHeart. And a portion of iHeart, like Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah, and they just named him like something with diversity or something. So
exactly.
he has too.
Right, yeah. Exactly. And he's buying back into the company and giving back and really putting his people on and with his black podcast network. And so when you hear his story, it's not all glam and greatness. He got fired a lot of times before he got to where he's at. Exactly. He slept on a lot of couches, worked for free, worked under one of the greatest media personalities, although she's very messy, Wendy Williams.
Right.
Which is what I think that's where it comes from, him being so messy too. You got to think about that.
I was going to say, I used to listen. They were on together when I was living in New York. And it's so funny because people think like Wendy is like messy and crazy now that she's on TV. And I'm like, you would have never survived her radio days because Wendy was off the chain.
Because I know, because towards the end of her radio tenure, they started doing a TV show around her radio show on VH1. Yeah. And they showed some of that stuff. And even like when she, I think one of the biggest interviews that she had, I mean, obviously she had a lot of big interviews, but one of the biggest ones that I think people will remember is her interview with Whitney Houston.
Ooh, child.
And the way,
yes.
And the way she went off on Whitney Houston. I mean, the way that Whitney Houston went off on her.
Yes. And Whitney and what's her name were almost going to come up there and beat her up.
Right. Like, I think it was the girlfriend.
The whole thing. Yeah.
Robin, the girlfriend. Yeah, exactly. Well, we ain't going to go into that story. Rest in peace to Whitney Houston. We're gonna leave that one alone. But yeah, I mean, just stuff like that. When you hear these stories, I think people really need to understand the glitz and glamour that you're seeing now. It took them about 25 years to get there.
To get there is exactly not anything overnight. Like it's gonna take a lot of different positions, experiences, life lessons to really get to that point. And I mean, it's no joke. Like even before this, pandemic that we're in now, which has made things really hard. And a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people, are struggling. But, even before that, radio is cutthroat.
Listen, it's very competitive.
To get that foot in the door, man, that is no joke either. So it's not just glitz and glam. I hope people understand, like, it's a lot of work that you have to put in. It's not just talking into the mic every day and just posting online. Like, it may look like that.
Now it does. It may look like that now, but really behind the scenes, you're doing about 50, 11 jobs.
A whole bunch of stuff.
Right. While you're on air, while you're doing your show. Right. I've literally seen it and I've kind of done it myself. And so I get it and I understand it. But when you're working hard, you get to play even harder. And so you get moments. You get moments like where you get celebrities that come into the studio and you get to interview them before they have a show or, while they're promoting their new album or something. And so my next question to you is your best celebrity interview.
Best? Okay, I have to give a top 3 just because they were all, and they're all so different, but they were all just like really amazing. And I really remember them. So in no particular order, but Major, the artist Major, we could have honestly talked for much longer, but they were like knocking on the door like, hey, you almost done. He was just dropping so many gems and he was just so insightful just about everything, just about himself, his career. And I was just so intrigued by everything he had to say. So I'm just like, this man is like amazing. Like he was an amazing interview. I really enjoyed talking to him even before and after we were recording, like just talking to him just about everything. Trouble, which is a rapper out of Atlanta. He was really funny, and his story is crazy. Like it sounds like something that you would see on a movie, just from him like being incarcerated. But before that, like how he got caught, it was like a chase and a dog came and bit a piece of his ear off. It girl, it was this crazy story. But ultimately, like, now he's this rapper. You have to go back and listen to the interview. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm sure I was trying to think if we talked about that before or while we were on, but I'm pretty sure it was during the interview. And hearing his story, but then also just, him being entertaining, and he's also a really good storyteller. So I love talking to him. And last but definitely not least was Keke Palmer. She was I've always felt like Keke, like, and I know I'm not like old. How old is Keke?
Keke is 26 now, I think.
Okay. And I don't feel like I'm like, oh, so much older than her, but I just always felt like she was so wise beyond her years.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm older than her, but just like listening to her and listen to, her dynamic with her family and how they were very supportive. We like, really related on that, and just her career and coming up and just dealing with different circumstances. She was really good to talk to too. So I definitely enjoyed that. I know there's three so different, but they were definitely the ones that I always think of top of mind when I think of interviews.
Yeah, especially at Trouble. Because Trouble used to
Girl,
date Alexis Sky.
yes, and
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
and girl, he ended up, because I was like, oh man, I was like, she's so pretty, because I think she's gorgeous, and we ended up FaceTiming with her once we were finished with the interview. It was a whole
Wow.
thing. It was so nice, so down to earth. Like I really enjoyed talking to him.
Wow. Okay. Favorite moment in radio?
Favorite moment in radio. Honestly, getting the call that I got the job that I'm in now. Because
Okay.
yeah, like honestly, I don't think I will forget it, just because I feel like I have been grinding for so long and so hard. And like we talked about, sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're getting older and it's like, okay, I need something to break, or like what's
Right.
happening. And I just remember hounding the my PD now for, probably like about a month, because we went through this application process, we interviewed, and it was
Mm-hmm.
still like lingering on. So I'm like, he is not giving this job to somebody else. So I just remember harassing him, and I just remember, when I got that call that he was offering me the job, just like that feeling of, thank you, God. Like I did all this stuff, and because this is my first like solo show,
Mm-hmm.
full time on air position.
Right.
So, of course, I've done other things in radio, but this was like the first one that was like just me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just remember that feeling of feeling so proud that literally everything that I had done, I felt like, okay, it mattered. Like I knew that it mattered, but it was just
Mm-hmm.
like, man, now you see the culmination of all that, all the hard work you put in, literally blood, sweat, and tears. Like it, it just felt really good, like in that moment. Of course, like I have moments that I love and moments that are amazing, but just that feeling of just being really proud of myself
Mm.
was a big deal for me.
Oh, I
Try
can't
don't get
wait
me
to get
crying,
the.
because I'll cry.
I can't wait to have that moment. I feel you on that. I'm in the
Yeah,
process of
I'm telling
waiting,
you,
and it's been since the
it's
process
so
started.
close.
Yeah, the process since the process started, which was in October, till now,
Mhm.
it's like
It's gonna happen.
3 months. 3 months, and I've been hounding the PD too.
When I tell you,
Have
it's
you
gonna
made a decision yet?
It's gonna happen. And my PD still say to this day, like, when we're talking interns and stuff, he was like, yeah, this one right here, she was calling me. And it wasn't like, because you also do have to find when you're following up that line between persistent and just being aggravated.
Oh
So
yes.
I was like, I was real persistent, but I hadn't quite crossed the line, because I asked him that too, when I got hired, like, was it too much? Like, be honest, because I need to know. He was like, no, and that's what he told me. It's like a difference between being persistent and being aggravating. And it wasn't aggravating, but I could tell that you really wanted this opportunity, and that ultimately led to me hiring you. So yeah, you just gotta just stay persistent, and just somebody told me a long time ago to always get excited about the no.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, I don't want to hear no. I need this job. But they're like, if you think about it, all those no's just mean you're that closer to getting your yes. So I always try to put that in perspective. And, it's much easier said than done, especially for you. I'm sure, like, I know how I was in the moment. It's like, all that is good and great, but I need this job. Like, I don't want to hear all that. I don't want to hear, I've been hearing that for years. I don't want to hear all that woo-sa stuff. Like, I need a job.
Like, let's get to the nitty
So,
gritty. Like, this is
yeah.
what's happening. I
So
don't want
I
to hear that. It's not for me right now. I need a job. Let's get this going.
and I want this one.
Right. That's how I am right now. I want this job. Okay.
I get it. You can hear different opinions from other people, get all that advice, and it's great. Don't get me wrong, and it's not taken for granted at all. But sometimes, especially when you feel like you've been doing something for so long, it's like, okay, I need something to happen. So you just stay prayed up, Lord. Prayer and your support system will get you through. I'm telling you, prayer and a good support system, whether it be family or close friends.
And that goes the same for everybody that's watching this interview right now. Prayer works, manifestation works, but also do the work.
Also do the work.
Do the work, because that one yes could change your life. Sometimes it may change you for the worse or the better, but at least you get a chance. It's an experience,
It's either a blessing or a lesson. So you're going to win either way.
Right, exactly. And so as we get ready to close out, obviously COVID hit radio really hard.
Yeah.
I think is besides hospitality workers, everybody that worked in media entertainment has been affected by this. And so what is your biggest fear in continuing to do what you love as radio continues to change?
Honestly, the feeling of just not being good enough. Just because, like you said, it is ever changing. And this is one of those careers where like people are basing, their opinions just off of you. And so it's like, dang, well, I have to be good, like, because I need these ratings to be good.
Right.
And, it's a lot of things that play with your head, especially because it's just you. So everybody's opinion is really just based off of, who you are. It's not like you can hide behind something else or like hide behind just documents or stuff like, oh yeah, she can do that. Well, no, it's like they are really looking at you and you have to put yourself out there. Like we were talking about with social media, and even just every day on the air, you're putting yourself out there. So there's always that fear, I believe, of just not being good enough, people not liking what I'm doing. And of course, I know, it's easy for a lot of people to say, well, oh, don't worry about what people think. But no, it's kind of like in my job, like I kind of have to worry that they do like me and that I am good enough, because if my ratings suffer, I suffer.
Right,
so,
exactly.
It is always kind of that lingering feeling of like, am I good enough to be doing this? Are people going to listen? Are they going to like the content? Am I doing a good enough job? And, kind of those insecurities.
And that's understandable. I totally get that. I understand where you're coming from.
I know you do. Yeah, I'm sure it's something that a lot of us kind of deal with, and listen, I'm working through some anxiety issues. So that's a whole nother part of it. Like you really have to just come to something that's going to kind of like ground you, whether it's therapy, whether it's talking to friends, whether it's talking to family, whether it's going for a run or whatever it is, find that place where you can get grounded back and, don't let those bad days make you feel like you aren't good enough, which is something that I can say, but I'm still working through that. Because the other day, I think I was trying to record a commercial or something, and it's like, I could not get it right. And I'm like, am I supposed to be doing this? Because I can't, like, I'm jumping off the weekend with it. Yeah. So it's it can be tough, especially when when it's a career that everything is just based strictly off you.
Yeah, that's true. So as we close out, obviously we're kicking off Breaking the Ceiling, and Meet the Fam with Vicky Roe and myself. Shout out to Marie.
Shout out. Hey girl.
What is your hope in doing this project, and what's the message that you hope to convey when it comes to radio power players seeing this?
Well, my hope for this project is really just to get out stories. Like I've said before, I love telling stories, and I feel like everyone has a story to tell. And in this radio world, we go through some crazy stuff. Not saying that other people don't, but
Right.
it's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people may not even know. And I think being able to talk to some of these people who've been doing this, who've been in radio, who've had these experiences, will not only, help enlighten some of the viewers that'll be watching and listening, but also help enlighten me because, I'm still relatively new in this, or at least in my head, I always feel like I'm new. So, just getting some of that insight from them and really picking up game from things that they've been through, and things that may be helpful for me and the viewers. And I hope people in radio can really just see that they're not alone, because I know sometimes it may be just be personally, but sometimes it can feel like you're going through certain experiences in this radio world alone. Like, I got to be the only one who feels like this, or am I the only one who feels like this? And you may not even know. And, you may hear one of the stories on your podcast or one of the written things that I do and, read or hear something. And it's like, dang, that happened to me too. Or I know exactly what she means by that. And so really build that sense of community and not feeling so alone as sometimes we can be, piled on top of this pandemic that we're in, where people are spending more time alone.
Right, exactly. And everything you just said, I agree with. I hope that, excuse me, I hope that some of these power players in radio, the ones that make the big decisions, they see this and they understand how much we love this. Because, we don't do this for the money. I mean, let's just be honest.
You have to love it. Do you
You
hear
have
me?
to have a love for it. So when they're thinking, when they're hiring, when they're looking for their talent, when they see the content that we put out there, I hope that with this series, on both ends, they see that there's no limit in what we can do, not just as humans, but as Black people.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're multi-layered. I hear this a lot. We're multi-layered. A lot of us bring a lot more to the table than just coming on a mic and saying a couple of words. Like we have a lot. And so I think that we need to be considered a lot more in different arenas and different areas and in different genres. Let's just be honest. I mean, they try to
that's true.
Put you in a box and put you just in urban and think that's the only thing that you can do. I think I've seen very few talent that do top 40 radio.
Yeah, and that's where, when I was a producer, I was in top 40 radio, and I didn't see a lot of people who look like me at all. So I hope that, like you said, that's something that they can kind of come to see, that, we can do a bunch of different things. We are magical. Like,
yes, there you go. We are magical. We got the good voodoo from Badu. All right, Vicky, let people know, our new viewers on the radio fam that are going to see this, where they can follow you.
Yes, you can follow me. Really, I have a Twitter. I probably should use it more. I'm not going to lie. But Twitter and Instagram is at Vicky Roe Radio. And Vicky is VICKY ROE Radio. So Vicky Roe Radio on Instagram and Twitter. I use Instagram for sure a lot more than I use anything else. And I also just dropped the website, so you can go check out my website and keep up with all my interviews, articles, everything. VickyRoeRadio.com.
Well, thank you so much, Vicky, for being my first guest.
Of course. It's so weird being on this side. I'm like, I'm talking about myself. Oh, my God.
Right. I feel that way, too, when I do get interviewed. I'm like, why would they want to talk to me? Like,
this was interesting. This was very interesting. So
did you have fun?
Of course I did. It's like, I forgot we were doing a podcast for a second. I thought we were just on FaceTime, girl. Hey.
You a mess. Go ahead with that. Go ahead. Make sure, guys, you tune in to more of this interview series that we have coming down the pipeline. The pipeline. Radio personalities also can't talk sometimes. Right. Coming down the pipeline. Make sure you check out Vicky's segment, Meet the Fam. That will be coming out weekly.
Yes.
so that you can learn about some talent that you probably never heard of or researched before. So you get to learn new things about these people. And then obviously Breaking the Ceiling will be coming out twice a week. That's the hope. Anyway, that's the hope.
We'll see what happens, but it will be coming out.
Yes, it's coming out regardless. But we trying to figure that part out. But yes, I'm very proud of this project that we have put together along with the radio fam. And I hope you guys enjoy it too. Until next time, when we have an official day and time of when we're dropping these things. All right. You guys stay safe, stay masked up, and make sure you keep yourself together during this tough time in radio. Because this is definitely a series that's meant to enlighten and also teach and learn and all that good, excuse my language, shit.
It's not all glitz and glam, people. It's not all glitz and glam.
Exactly. So, holla, guys. I'll talk to you. Oh, I didn't even tell you people where to follow me at. Follow me also. Okay. Right. Follow me also at Janelle Belle. That's my Instagram. That's JNELLEBELLE. Our social medias will be on the lower thirds at the bottom down here. You'll see it, and I'll make sure to put on our websites. But my Twitter won't be showing up here. So my Twitter is J.Belle on air, and I'm on there a lot, and it's a little bit raunchier than my Instagram.
Oh, get spicy, okay?
More like PG-13. I'm not rated R, triple X, or nothing like that.
Oh Lord,
no, I don't do that. People are watching. People are watching. Okay.
Always watching.
Always watching. Somebody's watching me.
Okay. On that note, we gotta go.
We gotta go. Bye, guys.